Anthony, and I'll be going over this presentation or project that's created by me and my two friends on what's asked in college essays and the basic college application. So, how this presentation is organized. So we'll start off with the application checklist, and then we'll move on to colleges with the most least requirements, then to non-common app schools, which is a form of application, and then lastly to common essay topics or themes, which will take up the most part of our presentation. So, application checklist. First off, you want a strong academic record, which is basically like your GPA. It represents the grade point average for all 4 years of high school. And then if you're ever up watching YouTube, you can access your own admissions file, meaning you as a student have the right to access your own academic files, records, and feedbacks from your own school. And YouTube has great YouTubers who engage on that topic and teach you how to do that. And then secondly, teacher and counselor recommendations. That is a pretty important aspect of the college application, which teachers and counselors who has been with you for all 4 years of high school, or teachers who have known you for a long time, or your core subject teachers will write a letter to your school describing how you are as a student in high school and how they think you will perform as a student in college, or for example how you are as a person, etc., which will have a pretty big impact on your whole overall application. Thirdly, activities and extracurriculars, meaning what have you done outside of school, outside studying, outside academics, like for example sports, hobbies, sports, hobbies, and other activities, or like community service. These all count as activities and extracurriculars that will be a pretty important, also a pretty important aspect of your college application. And then fourthly, test scores, for example SATs, APs, and ACTs. These years, previous years and this year, because of COVID-19, a lot of schools have made SAT and ACT optional, meaning that you could submit if you want to, or if you didn't have the chance to take the SAT or ACT test, you don't have to submit. And some schools just straight up deny that they will use the SAT and ACT or consider them as any of a student's application point. But then APs and IBs, which are like extra hard classes you take in high school, they're equivalent to college classes. You take them to either save money in college or just to challenge yourself. These are still being organized. For example, this year they had a 3 formatted AP tests: online, in person and online. These schools will still consider as your overall application. And then fifthly, essays. Common app or coalition. Common or coalition is a type of application, you can say style, that you consider to use. A lot of the schools will give you an option to choose either between the common app or coalition, or some schools will only offer the common app for you to submit. And then supplemental essays, which are like a extra question feature that a lot of schools will ask. Some schools do not offer supplemental essays, and some schools offer a lot of supplemental essays. These are mandatory, and they basically ask you some simple examples are why you want to come to our school, or why do you think you're a good candidate for our school. And then short answer essays are basically just short answer questions that are very simple and you answer within a few sentences for the schools to ask. Moving on. Weird application items outside the checklist. So if you're an art guy and planning to pursue an art major or art school, there's a high chance that you're asked for art portfolio, and which is like a drawing based on their standards or checklists. And then even if you're not an art kid, they might ask you for a picture. For example, Rice University, for some students applying for specific majors, they wanted a 2-dimensional image that speaks for itself, and they defined it just by speaking for itself, which is a very open topic, and up to the student to decide what they want to submit and how they want to explain their picture. And then for UMichigan's Ross program, they wanted a case discussion and artifact that represents something significant about your life and shows how you've put learning into action. This is also a semi-open topic and up to the student to decide what artifact or what case discussion they're choosing to represent the significant factor about their life and how they put learning into action. And then for Brandeis, one of their questions was, out of 171,476 words in the English dictionary, pick your favorite word and tell us why you've picked it. So obviously you have 171,476 words to choose from. So it's a very, very open topic. And you basically just choose your favorite word out of the dictionary, and then you just tell them why that's your favorite word. And then for Princeton's graded written paper, that's something that like a lot of the top schools require, which is like almost it's a long essay paper based on what they want, and then you write that to in order to apply, and if you don't, you are not able to apply. And then for MIT's Maker Portfolio, that is also something that MIT requires, specifically tailored to their application. And the odd applications. For example, UChicago, which is a top 10 school based in Chicago, obviously. Chicago is very weird that I had to dedicate a slide for them. They also maintain something called the Uncommon blog. You either make up your own extended essay or you can do options like. Some of their questions, some but not all, include from who does Sally sell her seashells to? How much wood can a woodchuck really chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Pick a favorite tongue twister, either originally in English or translated from another language, and consider a resolution to its conundrum using the method of your choice. Math, philosophy, linguistics, it is all up to you or your woodchuck. Or another question, what can actually be divided by 0? Thirdly, do you feel lucky? Well, do you punk? By Eleanor Roosevelt, and misattribute a famous quote and explore the implication in doing so. Or what's so odd about odd numbers? Or lastly, how are apples and oranges supposed to be compared? So for UChicago, they're probably the only school out there that has a application like this, and this is the supplemental essay section where the questions that they put on their website are mostly came up by past students or alumni, and then you choose one and then you write an essay on it, or you have the choice to make up your own question and then write something about that too. And this is weird because they're the only one who do that, and it's often very intricate questions. So then analyzing essays, harder than it seems. So sometimes there are hidden extra essays. For example, last year there was an extra Texas A&M school essay that popped up when a student was about to submit, which is very dangerous, as you could say. Or online forums claim that Grinnell, which is a number 13 school out of the liberal arts category, they emailed students or applicators with an optional why Grinnell after the fact essay. And I put the quotations on optional because often when schools give you a choice on whether you want to write the essay or not, it is preferred or done by a lot of students who actually write the essay because it's an extra chance or an extra thing that they could evaluate you by. And then major specific essays, sometimes they are asked as academic interest, or sometimes this is in addition to other essays about your academic passion. But then some schools don't list all their essays. For example, when me and my friends were analyzing college essays, some schools you have to request information, or you had to actually be in the application portal to see the supplemental essay questions that they are going to come out with this year. So then we had to go to private counseling sites to find those hidden questions. Next, essay prompts by the numbers. These are just statistics that me and my friends or total numbers that me and my friends analyzed. So in total, we analyzed 26, or you could say 86 public universities. For example, like the UC, even though UCs have a bunch of different schools, for example, UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz, UC Santa Barbara, they all use one common app. They all use one main application. So if you only decide to apply for UC Berkeley, it doesn't matter. If you decide to apply for UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UCSB, you only have to write one application and you could use it to submit for all three of them. And then, but some like U Michigan, which have different campuses, their applications vary from one campus to another. So if you're applying for their Ann Arbor, it might be different than their other campus. So in 26, we mean by 26 school portals, but then 86 campuses. And then we also analyzed about 50 private universities and then 28 liberal colleges, because they are simply different and not a lot of the population applies for liberal colleges. So what we did is we looked at everything from total word count to theme, and on average, private schools out of the all the universities by far, they require far more writing than public universities. They want more total words, more number of essays, and more are their essay topics are more centered around things like personality. Moving on. So colleges with the most essays. Stanford or Common App. This is over Common App. So the Stanford community, based in the Bay Area, is deeply curious and driven to learn in and out of the classroom, reflect on an idea or experience that makes you genuinely excited about learning word count. And then, so the whole page here is all Stanford application questions. These are all supplemental essay questions where they require the Common App essay, and then 3 short essays, and then 5 really short essays. And then, Stanford has considered one of the longest applications that you could do. And then another quick example is tell us something that is meaningful to you and why, or what is the most significant challenge that society faces today, or how did you spend your last 2 summers? Moving on. Colleges that ask a lot of questions: USC, Common App. This is a tier down from Stanford. So then some questions vary. For example, USC believes that one learns best when interacting with people of different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives. Tell us about a time you are exposed to a new idea or when your beliefs were challenged by another point of view. Or they ask you short questions where you answer with a few words or a few sentences, or even a sentence like, describe yourself in 3 words. What is your favorite snack? Best movie of all time? Dream job? If your life had a theme song, what would it be? Dream trick, etc. And then common and coalition questions. So then these are sorry, I lagged out there. Common and coalition questions vary from some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. To describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging it makes you lose all track of all time. Why does it captivate you, or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? And then colleges that doesn't use the Common App. A lot of publics, UC's, Penn State, etc., they have their own application style. They have their own application requirements, or they create their own application. And then U.S. military academies, for example, the Air Force Academy, West Point, or Naval Academy, they have their own candidate questionnaires. And then they also need a U.S. congressional nomination, a medical examination, and a fitness assessment. And you have to qualify for all 4 of those in order to be able to apply, in which you don't have a 100% chance of getting it. And then private schools like MIT and Georgetown also don't use the Common App. Instead, they ask questions like, describe the world you came from, for example, your family, club, school, community, city, or town, and how has that world shaped your dreams and aspirations, in which they require 200 to 250 words. And then MIT will also have a separate activities section where they want you to list any scholastic distinctions you have won since entering high school and indicate the level of distinction, or list any non-scholastic distinctions you have won since entering high school and indicate the level of distinction. And for Georgetown, which is a school based in DC, they will ask you separate questions depending on what college or what major you applied to. For example, the most famous foreign services, or or they will ask you to make and attach your application as a resume. Okay, so then colleges that have the few additional essays slash supplemental essays slash short answers or no supplemental essays. Sometimes you do live and die by your academic record. For example, San Jose State does not have essays, and they grade purely based on your basically your grades and such, or the University of Reno in Nevada. And then some schools have very few essays, so they still do, but just a lot less. So then colleges like Case Western and Northeastern ask for just the common or coalition essay, which is just 650 words. And then Vanderbilt has the Common App plus just one additional essay on an extracurricular activity. So that's 650 words plus just one small to medium essay that they will ask you on your extracurricular activity. So now we're on our part 4, which is we analyze the different supplemental essay prompts by the themes. So as for the questions labeled in red, they represent failure, obstacle, and challenge. For the ones that represent blue, for the ones that's highlighted in blue, they represent community service slash civic duty or improving community. And then for the ones that's labeled in purple, they represent intellectual curiosity, academic passion, and future major. And for the ones that's in yellow, it's personality, individualism, and growth. And for the ones in white, it's your community, cultural awareness, diversity, or your background. And then for the ones in green, it's why this college, and really they're asking why you want to apply for our college. But then for a lot ask for books also. It's not that big of a section, but a lot of top schools ask you to describe a book that you like, or they ask you to describe an extracurricular activity to elaborate on. Sorry. So then for the failure, obstacle, and challenge examples. So for MIT, their failure, obstacle, challenge section is tell us about the most significant challenge you faced or something important that didn't go according to plan, and how did this manage the situation. And then for Stanford, what is the most significant challenge that society faces today? For Washington U, the Beyond Boundaries program equips students with a set of tools to critically understand and make a difference in a complicated world where challenges do not come pre-packed as a territory of a single discipline. And in about 250 words, tell us what great challenge you might want to understand. And for all of the UCs, their obstacle, failure, challenge questions is describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or work to overcome an educational barrier. And what personal characteristics or skills did you call on to overcome this challenge? I'm not going to go over the rest as it's quite repetitive, but I know that not all of you will apply to these schools, or that these don't match the schools that you're applying for, but these are just a simple example of what the top schools or some schools supplemental essay questions like that fit into the criteria of failure, obstacle, and challenges. And then moving on to community service topic. So for the UCs, their community service topic essay is what have you done to make your school or community a better place. And for MIT is at MIT, we bring people together to better the lives of others, and MIT students work to improve their communities in different ways, from tackling the world's biggest challenges to being a good friend. Describe one way in which you have contributed to your community, whether in your family, the classroom, your neighborhood, etc. And as you can see, all of these, apart from one, the UC, are all private colleges, and they are all heavily reliant on their community service, or they measure a student a lot based on the community service that they have done. So then this will be a big evaluative role for them as to how you write your essay. And then to future major academic passion. On the Common App, one question that you can choose is describe a problem you've solved or a problem you like to solve, and which is related to your academic passion or the future field of study that you want to go to. But then remember that if you choose this one for your Common App, then for the supplemental essays that you will encounter based on the colleges that you apply to, you can't really choose something that will sound similar, or else you will be repetitive and redundant. So then for the UCs, their application related to this topic is think about an academic subject that inspires you. And then for example, Caltech, they want you to describe 3 experiences or activities that developed your passion for a possible career in STEM, which stands for science, math, engineering, etc. And yeah, moving on to personality, individualism, and growth. So then, this is pretty self-explanatory, as they want you to describe you. And for example, Princeton and Notre Dame, they have the same question in which they want you to describe what brings you joy, as that's pretty simple, but completely up to you. And then for Princeton, Emory, and USC, their question about that is a song or book that represents the soundtrack of your life or represents you. And then for Stanford and Emory, introduce yourself to your future roommate. Or for MIT, tell us about something you do simply for the pleasure of it. As this, they just want to learn a bit more about you and how you are as a person. And then moving to your community, cultural awareness, and diversity, or like just basically like news, or like what you think of the world. So for let's say BC, Boston College, based in Massachusetts, their question is, what beliefs and values inform your decisions and actions today, and how will Boston College assist you in becoming a person who thinks and acts for the common good? As you can see, this kind of relates to the community service tab labeled in purple, but then this is only different because instead of your own, they're asking for your experience. They want to know how coming to Boston College will help you assist becoming a better person and act for the common good. And then for Notre Dame, share how a favorite tradition from your life has impacted who you are today, and in response to the rising momentum behind the Black Lives Matter movement, what is one action you are taking to change this world for the better? As you can see, it's pretty similar to the Boston College one, how in which they want you to, like, how they will help you to think and act for the common good. And then moving on to demonstrated interests. So within the top 50 private colleges, only the following did not have an essay that was college specific or somewhat related to demonstrated interest. And these are Vanderbilt, which is ranked 14 based on US News rankings. And the only supplemental that they asked was about an extracurricular activity. Or Case Western, that's ranked number 42. They had no supplementals and Common App only. And then for Northeastern, number 49, which they also required no supplementals and Common App only. And then more often or not, it can be the only supplement that they ask you. And on the green section, are you really interested, or what we were explaining earlier, demonstrated interest. So then as for Stanford, their question regarding this topic is, name one thing that you're looking forward to experiencing at Stanford. Or for Tulane University, please explain why you're interested in attending Tulane University, which is optional, but it is always preferred to answer. And then for New York University, we would like to know more about your interest in NYU and what motivated you to apply to NYU, and we want to understand. So these are just basically why you want to come to our school questions. And then moving on to liberal art college essays. So a characteristic of liberal art colleges is that they really care, in which we mean that, for example, in Williams, which is the #1 liberal arts college, based they want you to, part of the Williams experience, at Williams we believe, they really want to know that whether you align with their beliefs and such. Or for Wellesley, we know that there are more than 100 reasons to choose Wellesley, but blah, 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 you continue from there. Or from Claremont McKenna College, why do you want to attend CMC? And yeah, they want to know why you really want to go there to school, and if your academic interests align with them, basically. And yeah, that's basically a summary, or not a summary, but a presentation on a project that my friends and I worked together during our free time for about, maybe it took us a few months because procrastination and such. And yeah, well, thank you for watching this video if you are here, and just make sure that this really, and I just it might not help all of you, but hopefully it'll help some of you in your college application experience. And yeah, just take it easy. Thank you.